I wanna talk about my potential run for 2024 and Trump's potential run for 2024 and the beloved DeSantis potential run for 2024.
One of the things that really upset me in 2020 is intelligent people that I knew, that I went to high school with, I went to college with, getting on social media and gaslighting and manipulating people who may not pay attention to politics, may not pay attention to the things that, you know, they pay attention to, and manipulating people into saying, well, if you don't support Black Lives Matter, you're a bad person. And in fact, if you call attention to the riots and to the murder and the destruction that Black Lives Matter was causing, you're a bad person because you're choosing to focus on the negative aspects. And all of those people, I think, are cowardly, were cowardly. They've hopefully changed since then, because now we're at a point where it seems pretty obvious that we can just say, yeah, all lives matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter, obviously. But Black Lives Matter, the organization, is a joke. It did nothing to help the black community, whatever that means exactly. It stole money. It's currently in lawsuits right now because the chapter leads stole money from the local chapter leads, which are actually doing something. The one woman bought a multi-million-dollar mansion. And it's like, here's the thing. White liberals who don't actually care about the plight of poor people, black or white.
For some people, Black lives don't matter at all. So for us, Black lives matter.
Ashton Kutcher tears up explaining the Black Lives Matter movement.
They just wanted to give their money to an organization, post their black square, and then just feel good about things. And now they reap what they sow. And let's watch Kanye West talk about how white lives matter and see how that goes.
So you made reference to the White Lives Matter t-shirt, which you brought out at Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, and what did it mean?
You know, I do certain things from a feeling. I just channel the energy. It just feels right.
Which, by the way, I don't necessarily think this was a smart move. I mean, I think it's playing into identity politics in the same way that Black Lives Matter is. But the contradiction that it poses is interesting, because it's like, well, Black Lives Matter, that's a fact. Well, White Lives Matter, that's a fact. All lives matter, that's a fact. These are all just terms that they're just tribal signaling. And so he's putting on the shirt of the other tribes, quote unquote, and yet it's two intelligent, successful black people, whether or not you disagree with them. Just shows you how much they need to be put in place by their so-called progressive friends.
My power is through God. So if someone ever says anything like, oh, you did a great job, it's praise God.
The religious turn that Kanye took is not as good as I think a lot of people realize, because I think it's an externalized manifestation of a lot of internal struggle and disunity. And by believing that he's in a battle of good and evil in the external world, and he's a soldier of God fighting against, you know, evil outside of people, I think it makes it more difficult to recognize, I'm sure, the many problems he has within. But I'm speculating, obviously.
You know, my dad is a educated ex-Black Panther, and he put a text to me today. He said, White Lives Matter, ha, 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 ha. And I said, I thought the shirt was a funny shirt. I thought the idea of me wearing it was funny. And I said, Dad, what do you think it was funny? He said, just a black man stating the obvious. Yeah. And you know, my dad doesn't listen to rap music. Like, my dad is the most brilliant person that I know. And we actually have a strained relationship because I was taken from him. Because my mom was an actress, so she was a liberal. And my dad would see certain things and say, you know, we should do it this way, we should do it that way. And the people got around my mom and pulled her away, much like, you know, Kim is a Christian, but she has people who want her to go to Interview magazine and put her ass out while she's a 40-something-year-old multi-billionaire with 4 black children. And this is how fashion wants to, how they want to present her.
It's going to be impossible for him to separate his own personal divorce and issues with that from what he sees in the media and the politics and whatnot, and the bleeding over of those two things is going to cause a permanent problem in him. And the difficult part is that some of that's true. It's like, well, the degeneracy, so to speak, of Hollywood and the media is a real thing, and Kanye is experiencing it firsthand. So how do you separate your personal view of the degeneracy from the reality of the degeneracy without overestimating the degree to which you participated in the problems that you have in your own divorce or whatnot? It's a complicated issue. I don't envy him.
Why do you think that's so? And I assume the implication is, of course, all lives matter because they're lives, because God created them.
Yeah.
Why do you think that that would be considered controversial?
Because the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have.
Yeah, Joseph Biden, if you don't vote for me, you aren't black. Pathetic, racist bullshit. Worse than anything Trump said, or as bad, at least.
My dad grew up as a military brat, and his family moved around, but they were based mostly in Delaware. And at the time, if they weren't the only black family, they were one of the few. And he would be discriminated against because he was black. So by the time he got into college, he would be discriminated against. He went to a black college, he would be discriminated against because they said he talked too white.
Yes.
And then he played the kick
Talk
drum.
too white. It's like Colin Kaepernick on his documentary talking about Carlton Banks as a white character.
These characters have come to be known by the term acceptable Negro. The acceptable Negro is a black character who inhabits white characteristics. The acceptable Negro is a white man's creation.
As if speaking English properly is a white characteristic. It's like, this is the kind of BS racism that we just accept. Oh, well, as white liberals, as white people, well, I don't want to call a black person racist because, you know, racism is all about privilege plus power and all this nonsense. It's like, yeah, well, that's weak as hell. That's weak as hell.
And what they do is, for people that have some form of influence, whether it's an educated black woman like my mother that became the head of the English department at Chicago State University, or whether it's the most influential white woman on the planet, being my ex-wife, they have people that are around them at all times telling them what to be afraid of. It's like not what to do or say specifically, it's what to be afraid of.
Or the father of Ahmaud Arbery, who shouted, "All lives matter."
For real, all life matters. All life. Yes. Not just black children. We don't want to see nobody go through this. No. Amen. I don't want to see no daddy watch their kid get lynched and shot down like that. That's right, Mom. So it's all our problem.
And then Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton, hearing that message of unity, were like, oh, we can't let this guy say that anymore. We can't let the father of a black man who was murdered by white people, white racists, who was shouting all lives matter. Well, that would destroy the Black Lives Matter message. Can't let that happen. So yeah, there's definitely people surrounding people who have influence, handling them. So yeah, I'm glad that we're now in a point where we can state the obvious. White lives matter, black lives matter, all lives matter. And the Black Lives Matter organization, not the people on the ground, not the charitable organizations involved, but the organization is a group of scam artists, and they are parasitizing off of the genuine harm and genuine pain and suffering of black people. They facilitated destruction. Things are changing. Things are changing. Anyway, good luck and Godspeed.